Prima Media in Johannesburg, this is the Real Economy Report. Sugar miller TSB held a media day in November to familiarise journalists with its milling operations and the support it provides to local growers of sugarcane. Schalk Burger has the story.
Sugar miller TSB helps to provide expert agricultural advice and funding to local sugarcane growers in partnership with local communities. Land restitution claims had threatened TSB's supply of sugarcane in the area, and it aimed to develop a viable farming community in the area centered on its own need for sugarcane. It provided seed capital for agricultural finance company Akwandze to provide the loans needed by farmers to sustain sugarcane production. All funds are tightly controlled through on-site visits to ensure that work has been done to standard and that farms and production are sustainable. The mutual dependence has led to the development of a sustainable cane growing industry in the region, as well as helping to develop the local communities. TSB CEO John Du Plessis explained the approach TSB took to sustain the volumes of sugarcane coming into its Malalan mill.
The model with the growers and millers particularly having to work together is so important because we both aligned and our future sustainability is dependent on us working together and to maximize the value that can be created. And I think that if we can understand each other a lot better in terms of where the pressure points are or where we can add value at the end of the day and create that value, then we are obviously both better off in this situation. The other thing is too, by working together we can realize the synergies that do exist between both the agricultural side and the milling side, and we can put in structures in place to again create more value. If we work together, we can also look at trying to improve efficiencies and productivity along the value chain, because what happens in agriculture has an impact on the processing side and ultimately the costs of production. So if we can grow the right varieties, for instance, or increase the fiber content or reduce the fiber content, we can then either make more sugar or make more energy and create value. So those are but a few examples of where we can work together. But I think that it's really important that we get a good communication between the two sectors, because they're so totally dependent on each other for the success and the futures. We have realized as TSB that we're totally dependent on cane supply. So what we do is to ensure that we can maximize the cane supply and the throughput through our factories. So we've put structures and resource into trying to ensure that cane supply is increasing all the time, so that we can get a better throughput, which gives us a benefit from the economies of scale in the one instance. So we take our revenue out in terms of efficiencies, but not only efficiencies, but also on the milling side, obviously the process, and then if there's any advantages in terms of the marketing side, obviously that assists us. But our focus is to ensure that we get the cane in the first instance, because without that we can't exist as a company, but also it has a huge impact in terms of our profitability. It's very dependent on and it's very sensitive to cane supply. So we put every effort into trying to assist our growers to improve their production, so that we can benefit ultimately in the downstream or the upstream side of the business.
Other news making headlines this week: airports shape new business location and development in South Africa. Industry leaders sign a buying local pledge, and Chinese imports threaten South African manufacturing. Airports are driving a fifth wave of economic development, as the 21st century will be essentially an aviation-based economy, with global commercial passenger and air cargo traffic soaring.
Airports are what we term as the fifth wave of economic development. The first wave was the seaports many centuries ago. The second wave was river and canal-based development. The third wave was the railroads. The fourth wave was the highways. The fifth wave, the new wave, the wave of the 21st century, is the airports. The 21st century is an aviation-based economy. Between 2010 and 2030, worldwide commercial passenger traffic will increase from 4.9 billion to approximately 13.3 billion. That's about a threefold increase over that 20-year period.
Industry bodies, government and labour recently signed a Buying Local pledge in an effort to promote procurement of locally manufactured goods and services. The signing took place at Proudly South African's second Buy Local Summit in Johannesburg.
As we seek to promote South African products, we do so well aware that our people as consumers are spoiled for choice. This challenges us to be more competitive in terms of quality, price, and desirability of South African goods. Proudly South African must therefore continuously improve ways to develop and identify unique selling points of South African goods so that consumers find them more appealing than imported goods.
Manufacturing Circle chairperson Stuart Jennings says the import of cheap goods from China and Southeast Asia is one of the largest external factors inhibiting the exploitation of the manufacturing sector in South Africa.
The South African economy today is significantly bigger than what it was before the recession. But we haven't grown jobs, as we can see here. And not only that, the problem is it's been built on debt and consumption. So the supply side of the economy has been absolutely neglected. And that's where manufacturing has fallen down, mainly because of imports, and mainly because of imports from Southeast Asia, not only China, but predominantly China, but also Vietnam and other incentivized low-cost countries have killed our jobs.
That's Creamer Media's Real Economy Report. Join us again next week for more news and insight into South Africa's real economy.